Shabbat Shalom, everybody. It's Uncle Rashbi, boys and girls, with this week's Torah. Rabbi Stephen coming to you, and this week's Torah commentary, which is on the portion Jethro. Now, before we get into that, I would like to say that this Saturday it'll be a very special Shabbat. Of course, every Shabbat is special in my mind. But with this particular Shabbat, not only will be reading the Ten Commandments, which is part of the portion of Jethro, but also Sherry Reeder is going to be hosting a Kiddush in honor of her sister who passed many years ago. It's her yard site, and we'll be having bagels and lox. So please join us for that. It's and it's kind of nice because what we've been doing is somebody was saying that gosh, as much as I know we need to have a Torah service and it's important, I kind of like it when we don't, because then we get to have a little discussion. We get to have a Devar Torah in place of it. Well, what we've been doing is we've been having, when we have a minyan, which is more and more. We're having a minyan more and more Saturdays, so good for you folks. Thank you so much for coming out. And again, if there's anything you'd like me to do differently, of course within the bounds of halacha, let me know. If something you'd want to see more of, something less of during the service, I'm always open to suggestions. But what we've been doing is, I do a little Devar Torah. We go into our Torah service, and then afterwards, when we're eating and we're all enjoying each other's company, we have a discussion on the portion, and people like it. It's very informal. It's kind of like a seminar type of an atmosphere, and people have questions sometimes about halacha, about Jewish philosophy and things, and it becomes very interesting and exciting, and people leave feeling good. They feel good about what they're doing, and that's really what's important. Feeling good about Judaism, having that relationship with Hashem, which is what Shabbat is really all about. So as long as we accomplish that, then we're doing something positive for you as the Kalal Yisrael, and as far as the community as well. So this portion, I kind of like this portion. It lends itself to humor, if you will. If you look at the Torah portion, it's called Jethro because it says that Jethro, Midian, Kohen Midian, a priest of Midian, came out. He heard what Moses has done, and he brought Moses' wife Zipporah and his two sons Gershom and Eliezer with him that he hadn't seen in like a year or so. And he comes and he sees Moses, and Moses sees him and his family, and Moses hugs Jethro. That's what it says. Moses went up and greeted his father-in-law. Did he greet his wife and his kids? Of course he did. Of course he did. But the Torah focuses on what's important, on what's not important in the grand scheme of things, but really what's important to the story. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a second, but first my other joke, and this will be the last year I say this, but, Jethro comes, he says, Moses, I heard what happened with the Egyptians, you brought the Israelites out, and Hashem brought you through the Sea of Reeds, and he closed it up, good deal, that's awesome, but I have to ask you, you're sitting here and you got all this line of people, there's thousands of people behind you waiting, what's that all about? And Moses is like, well, father-in-law, I'm the prophet, I talk to God a lot, and, so being that I'm close to Hashem and I know Torah, I have to adjudicate all these issues and talk about halacha with all these people. And Jethro's like, but Moses, all these people, you're going to be here for 40 years. Okay? Why don't you have other people do it and, take care of some of the lesser things, some of the lesser issues, people that can adjudicate fairly. And Moses is like, well, father-in-law, we are talking about Jews here. And Jethro's like, no, guys, people that, can't be bribed, that feel like they have enough money and don't want any more. And Moses is like I said, father-in-law, we are talking about Jews here. So, little self-deprecating humor. But seriously, that's what happened. Okay, now let's look at this in a serious vein. Okay, so Jethro comes out. He sees that Moses and Moses alone is pretty much the judge, and people are coming to him with questions about their neighbors, about halacha, about Jewish customs, and what are we going to do? I mean, there really is nothing, right? And Moses again has that wisdom. He has that connection with Hashem. He knows Torah, so he is adjudicating all this. And Jethro's suggestion was very good. It was, kind of like spreading out the power and, the power base to relieve Moses of some of the responsibility and certainly some of what he's doing, because people are sitting there waiting all this time and it's not doing them any good either. So if you have people that can adjudicate some of the lesser issues, it would kind of relieve Moses to engage in some of the important things. Now, it is true that on the one hand, it's good delegation, of management. On the other hand, some sages feel that Moses was derelict in his duty because, after all, he was chosen by Hashem to be the prophet. So it really is up to him to adjudicate. And after all, at this point, he knows Torah. Now, in the Torah, I would submit to you that there's two levels of time, of chronology. There is, today, tomorrow, the next day, the day after, etc., etc. Okay, so it's chronology according to real time. But then there's also the flow of the passages. There's that chronology, if you will. There's that steady timeline. Okay, so Jethro comes. And he talks to Moses, and some people say he was there for a year. Some people say he came and he left, based on extrapolating what happened based on the passage. Okay, that's real time. But Jethro comes to Moses and makes that suggestion that you should delegate power. That way, delegate management. That way, you're handling the real important stuff. The next wisest people are handling the next important, and so on. Okay. Now, again, the sages thought, well, Moses is the one that knows Torah. So he's really the one that should be adjudicating. What happens in the next chapter? In the next chapter is when Moshe Rabbeinu goes up to Mount Sinai to get the Ten Commandments. So think about this. We have the delegation of power. How are these people going to rule? How are they going to judge? Because Moses is going up to get the Torah, the Ten Commandments, which is going to be the start of the Torah. So you see that flow in the portion, the fact that okay, we've got, how are these people going to know what to do, how to adjudicate, right? Now, on the one hand, Torah is really kind of common sense. A lot of it is, the mishpatim, the judgments, the hukim, the decrees. That's something else, and the decrees are things that we really can't really understand on a level of logic, like kashrut. Why can we eat cattle and yet we can't eat pigs? Why is that? Why milk and meat? Why not milk and meat together? Because God says. That's basically it. The big thing, the red heifer, which we come to later, it's a way to purify. You take a cow that's completely red-haired. If it's got more than 3 non-red hairs, it's disqualified. What's that? Why a red heifer? Who knows? We don't know. But things like the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, don't covet thy neighbor's possessions, things like that. It's kind of common sense in a way. The first few commandments, when it talks about, I am the Lord thy God that brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God, okay, so we have a God, we have a jealous God that says, I am the one and the only, and I'm going to tell you what's real. My decrees, my laws, this is the way to get along in the universe. This is the way it is. Why do we have Shabbat? Well, on the one hand, it's a very spiritual type of a thing, that says, well, you need that one day. And think about it, it almost makes sense too, right? Why do we have one day in 7 that we abstain from work, that we abstain from the malacha? And what is malacha? Malacha is different from avodah. Avodah means work. Malacha is like tasks. And when we think about it, there's certain things that we're not allowed to do on Shabbat that are not really, it's no big deal. What about writing? Why can't we write? You take a pen, you write, it's no big deal, okay? Because it's a creative work, and that's what a malacha really is. It's something creating, okay? So what did Hashem do in the first 6 days? He created everything you see. He created the material universe. All right? It's not like, God doesn't expend himself. He doesn't go have to work out. To him, to doing work is just, it's intention and it's there. So it's really all about creative work, things that produce something. That's the whole idea of the malacha. That's where all these 39 malacha, which we get to later when we talk about the building of the Mishkan, of the tabernacle, when it really comes into play. All right? So we not only have that spiritual rest, to be able to remember, what are we doing all this for? Why are we studying Torah, which is the laws? We're doing it for, to create lives, to create some integrity in the world. But it's also the fact that you labor, you toil 6 days a week, and now you got that one day of rest. You can sleep late and hang out and, just spend time with your family and, of course, pray and everything. And that's what Shabbat's all about. And then we got, honor thy father and thy mother. Okay, well, because the father and the mother is where you get your social graces. It's where you understand how to interact in society. It's where, and also, you get Torah from your parents as well. They teach you how to behave in society, how to, get along with Hashem's laws. So a lot of it is really common sense, but a lot of times we need it written down. Now, in the last few seconds, somebody once asked a child, and, out of the mouths of babes, I love it, are all the other 603 commandments based on the 10 commandments that Moses got? I would say yes, absolutely. A lot of the business commandments that we have, don't covet thy neighbor's whatever, don't spread gossip. It's all about doing what's right and what's fair. And why don't we covet? Because God gave everybody according to their needs, like we say in the morning blessings. And if you go steal from somebody, or you covet, or you want what they have, you're basically going against God. So, interesting. So, I'll leave you with that. Again, happy Tu B'Shvat, and hope to see you at services when we actually read the Ten Commandments. Shabbat Shalom.